From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of Odd Pods Media. You guys know, if you know us at From the Middle, you know we're kind of all over the place. We're a show, three middle-class guys from the middle of America, the middle chapters of life with a point of view that falls somewhere in the middle. We just like to talk about comedy, culture, entertainment, and all kinds of things. And we're generally all over the place, but this one feels especially all over the place. Hey, who needs segues? We're just going to talk about Pickle, Weasel, and dodging chunks of concrete on the interstate, and why Jason Segel sucks, and parenting conundrums, and womanizing, and Mad Men, and Anjelah Johnson, and the unbearable weight of massive talent, and all kind of fun things. And we hope you enjoy. Bye.
Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the Middle after dark over here.
It's summertime, summertime. I figured one of the choir boys would have come in with the high harmonies at that point, but didn't happen.
Sorry to disappoint.
It's okay.
I can't read sheet music.
Is that true? Here's a question: were either of you in choir, like choir, regular choir, or both of you were?
And men's choir, yeah. And show choir.
And show choir.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you serious that you can't read sheet music then?
I really can't read sheet. I'm like Mark Loud. Just play it for me a couple times and I'll get it, but I can't read it.
Interesting. Did you guys go to competition with choir? Did you guys do sight reading at competition? And I'm guessing you guys weren't particularly good at that portion.
Well,
I can read it a little bit. I'm letting Dillon go.
There were the people that I was next to. It's sort of like a trade-off, right? Like some people can memorize another language vocabulary really well, but they're terrible at enunciation.
Yeah.
And then some people are really good at enunciation, but can't remember the vocab for the life of them. That's me. I'm really good at enunciation, but I can't remember. So it's kind of like, I'm not special. It's not a golden gift or whatever, but like if I hear it once or twice, or like I can kind of predict where the music might be going, or if I'm singing next to people who do know how to read it, I can follow them quickly enough. Okay. And that's all. It's as long as I was kind of in between people who knew I couldn't sight read and didn't, I was fine. I could sing off of them.
Yeah. So you're like the console gamer playing against a PC gamer in some aspects, where it's like you have a certain set of skills that makes the leg problem okay, because the leg is so minute that you can compensate.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine.
I don't know. This is a geeky conversation that probably 3 of our listeners will understand.
I'm somewhere in between Dillon and you, probably, Kendall. I know when the note's going up or down. Oh, that's a half step, a whole step. I know what the notes mean and the timings of the said notes. But it's not, I might be a bit off. But if somebody belts it out on, like Dillon, if somebody bangs it out on a piano once, I'm like, I'm good. I'm locked in.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I was talking to my wife about this last week, actually. Both of us are musicians who can read music and sight read music relatively proficiently. And I also have the choir background in addition to the instrumental background. And they are 2 different worlds. You're looking at sheet music either way, but on most instruments, you're just kind of doing rote memorization of what is that note called? How do I play that note on this instrument? And you follow along that way. Choir, it's very different. In choir, and this is something that kind of blew her mind because she had never thought about it. In choir, you think in terms of intervals. Like you don't care what the note's called. You just know where you are now. Yeah. And you know that you need to sing 2.5 steps higher from where you are now. And that is a very particular skill for sight reading choir music that like I remember having to practice. Like you would sing a baseline note and then your choir director would tell you, okay, now sing the third. And without riding up to it, you had to just hit it.
Right.
And which is an interesting skill that the choir people have, that I would say most of the instrumentalists don't have that skill. But anyway.
An instrument, so that's interesting. So like on a string, it's like, so let's say guitar, you're not just doing that, but then you're going, what is the proper fingering for that chord or for that note?
Yeah. So like you're not thinking I'm playing 2 steps above what I'm playing now. You're thinking, I'm going from a G to a B.
Right.
This is how I play a G, and that is how I play a B. That's what you're thinking.
Yeah. And so here's what blows me away about Sherry. Sitting down at the piano. Sherry took piano lessons for a long time as a kid. I took a few years less. So if I'm looking at a chord, I'm like really slowly going through each note of the chord.
Mm.
She's looking at it for the first time and playing the chords almost in the correct rhythm the first time through. And I'm like, how are you seeing all, essentially, if you've got a treble note too, all 4 or 5 notes at once the first time and finding them all so quickly? And I'm like, I'll spend 5 minutes on one chord and then got that one on to the next one.
Well, even that's like that's a third option, a third way of going through music, which is I kind of describe that one as, you can look at the chord on the sheet music and think of it as a shape.
Yeah.
Right. And then your hand can correspond to the shape that you see. Where I think, or at least this is how I think about it. I don't know if all piano players think about it this way, but you look at whatever the first note is, which is often but not always the bass note, right, of that chord, and then that's your starting point, and then you have this shape, because
and it builds from there.
You see the interval of a half step and then a whole step, and that is going to be this shape.
This is not like the band version of training Neo in Matrix.
This is not at all where I thought we would start this episode. I love it. You never know what you're going to get logging into From the Mid Pod. Summertime.
Oh boy.
I'll just do jazz hands. I can't read sheet music.
So I'm going to take a page and do a little icebreaker question for today's episode. And I saw this on Richie from Super Media Bros, one half of the host of Super Media Bros. I'm going to go ahead and call him the king of memes, because he posts multiple memes per day on social media, and they're great. Today's was this baller 1990s kid sitting in a really big box computer with his feet up on the desk with like stonewashed jean shorts. And the text above it said, "Nothing screams regret like the email address you came up with as a kid." So I'm curious to hear, do you guys have any noteworthy AOL Instant Messenger screen names, embarrassing gamer tags, names that you named your characters in a video games, or funny email addresses that you have from growing up?
I'm sure I probably had a funny one, but it's not coming to mind. I had so many. We all had so many, right?
So,
go ahead.
So mine was monkey_7 at hotmail.com. But my dad heard that when I told him as hotmale mail.com. And he was more concerned about that than he was monkey. I just thought monkeys are funny. And I like the number 7.
And monkey at hotmail.com was taken, as was monkey_1, as was monkey_2.
I can't remember my AOL Instant Messenger screen name. I remember Sherry's, because that's how we talked, in quotes. That's how we talked back in the day. Was in AOL Instant Messenger. I do remember I played a crap ton of Star Wars Galaxies in college. If you remember the massive multiplayer online RPG game, Star Wars Galaxies. And
did you know that got brought back online?
No.
Sorry, continue.
My character's name was Carlon Hellbane. Because I wanted it to still be my initials, but it needed to sound Star Warsy. So I came up with Carlon Hellbane. Dillon, do you have any funny ones while Kendall's thinking? I see you changed your screen name on Zoom to Pickle Weasel _36.
There it is. There it is. Pickle Weasel is a pretty that's a pretty deep pop culture reference. But if you watched a lot of Fox at the time, like I did, watched lots of like Family Guy before it got canceled and brought back, and Simpsons and King of the Hill. But one thing that was on, it was just a really funny moment, and it really caught me off guard. And it wasn't even particularly of a favorite show of mine, but I did see it. If you remember that 70s show, not the revival on Netflix, I think is that 80s or that 90s show, but based off of that. And, they have their scenes in the basement. I was at the age I didn't quite understand. I mean, I kind of understood, but I didn't quite understand. And at one point, Kelso, or what's his name? It's the actor I should know.
Ashton Kutcher.
So they always had their moments. So he's like, it's a funny word, Pickle Weasel. And he said it, and then it went all the way around the table with like nobody quite responding, and then back to him, and he's like out of breath laughing. And I thought the word wasn't that funny until it made it back around the table to Kelso, or Ashton Kutcher's character. And then to see him doing that, I just really lost it. I thought it was a really funny moment in the show. And then 36, I don't know why, was my favorite number for a long time. So, yeah.
I'm disappointed. I went to get my money, but someone stole it. So forget the fake gold necklace from Sears. I got to get Donna a crappy gift.
Hey, what would you guys rather see Jackie do? Walk a tightrope or ride a mechanical bull? Well, either way, she'll fall on her ass.
How long is this clip?
Too long.
I like them both.
And
I'm going to try to find it.
Also here to take it.
You guys think Jackie can hold her breath?
Oh no, it's got to go around the table again.
So, you guys know what a funny word is? Pickle Weasel.
See if my memory.
Then say I didn't take it.
See if my memory serves me correct. Well, they've already talked.
Now,
But they're not talking about Pickle Weasel.
Right.
Okay, it delivered. Nice.
Right, still funny. Good. So yeah, I think after that, if you say your email is Pickle Weasel deep enough into high school, eventually somebody says, for college, you might want a more generic email.
Don't put that on an application.
And I think I switched to something with my name at Yahoo, and it's been that ever since. But it was Pickle Weasel _36 for a long, long time.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, mine was pretty boring. I had a name that I had come up with when I was in high school. It's all one word, no capitalization, Saint Relic. And for me, I had like this cool poetic kind of Christian-y definition of what Saint Relic meant. And so I just kept it. And then just like, as I opened accounts for different things, like Saint Relic was always available, and I never had to alter it. Even to this day, like I use it for some things. But no, and I did have like a Saint Relic Hotmail account, and then again, like when I started to get serious about college and furthering education, I got in it was like Kendall Ayla 1984 at eudoramail.com. And then my freshman year in college, I opened a beta Google account, invited by a guy who knew a guy who worked at Google, and was able to land just my last name at gmail.com, just Ayla at gmail.com. And I thought that and still think that is really cool that I was able to be the Anjelah who landed that before anyone else got to it. And so that is still my email address to this day.
Yeah, you can't lose that.
I can't get rid of that
You
one.
can't get rid of that. I once heard it was a bad idea to put your full name as an email address, but it's like with social media, people can get your full name from a bajillion other places. Who cares if it's full name at whatever.com?
Exactly. I mean, your full name is public knowledge, period. If somebody wants to find out your first and last name, they can do it. Like it's not. And how many people just think about like, because I hear about that and I hear about people, I can understand why.
Oh, don't put your full name at Gmail.
Yeah. I can understand why people like say like, don't use your real name in social media or try to like shelter their kids' names and that kind of thing. I understand why people do it and people can make the decisions as they see fit. And I respect that and everything. But then I'm also like, how many like celebrities and people that like the rest of the world actually cares about and would love to mess with? Like we know their names and the names of their kids. Like how big of a problem is this really?
Right.
So some of it is paranoia. Some of it is like, it feels like I should care. And I don't know.
It's as long as you're not going first, middle, last social security at gmail.com, then you're probably safe.
Yeah.
So what's new with you guys? How you guys doing? Welcome to another week of From the Middle.
I was feeling very Sebastian, which by the way, he's got a new movie coming out in theaters.
Go see it Memorial Day weekend.
Go see it. About My Father, I think is the title. Definitely go check it out. I'll want to see it as soon as I can. I was feeling very Sebastian. He's a little, I don't know if this is a PC word anymore. He's a little metrosexual. If you haven't seen some of his older specials, taking an hour to get ready in the shower. Anyways, Brie has some sort of shampoo conditioner combo that has tea tree oil in it. And tingling is a wonderful after effect. It was just like it wasn't prepared for it. But then it happened and you're just all in. And it was a little bit of Sebastian and a little bit of like the Kramer, like, I got the tingling, Jerry, and I'm loving every minute of it. Kind of a little bit of that. So I'm riding high from tea tray. Not literally. You can't ingest it that way, but very good. And I just watched, we don't have to get into what we're streaming, but I just finally got to see Hitman 3. Which I was very excited to finally watch in preparation for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. And yeah, not a ton going on.
Cool. I'm a little concerned that Dillon might be having an allergic reaction to tea tree oil. We'll have to follow up on that next week.
No, this is just my face. I'm just naturally this chubby. This is
maybe the tingling isn't natural. That's all.
What was the food that gave you the oil or the nutmeg or the whatever gave you an allergic reaction?
I don't
from your charcuterie.
The Coochie board. It was oh my gosh, dates. Was it dates?
That sounds right.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, who knew? It's that kind of Hitch blow up moment where he's at the sucking down whatever antihistamine or whatever you take when you have an allergic reaction. I don't know what they're called. No dates on the Coochie board. We did talk about charcuterie boards last week though. It was like potato chips and summer sausage. Yeah, it was delightful. I do like a good charcuterie board. So just no dates.
Gonna have to put one of those together. So this week is the kids' last day of school, which I'm excited. I'm excited to hang out with the little stinkers, and we've got plans there. So their last day of school is Wednesday, and today, if you're listening to this on the day it drops, and then Thursday we're going camping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At your favorite spot by the water with the raccoon?
At our favorite spot by the water with the raccoon. Say hi to my buddy Raccoon. Go a few rounds with him at some point, and it'll be good. Just like old times. We're heading back to the campground. We've been there twice now, and I always have I currently have this feeling of like, is it gonna be as good as the first two times? Like, are we going to get that spot? Because we've gotten that spot now twice in a row. And so we'll see. But in any case, I'm highly looking forward to that. And we planned a vacation today. And
fun.
yeah, into June, we're heading to St. Ignace, Michigan.
Nice.
Which is, if people don't know, you've got the Upper Peninsula, Lower Peninsula of Michigan, the Mackinac Bridge that joins the two. South side of the bridge, you've got Mackinac City. North side of the bridge, you've got St. Ignace.
Okay.
And so we'll be staying there. We're going to be visiting. We're going to be spending a day at Mackinac Island for one of the days. We're going to bring our bikes because that is a vehicle-free town, just horses and bikes and feet. That's all.
That's awesome.
That's all you're allowed there. But so I am so excited and ready for school to be over and to get going on our summer and ride bikes to parks every day and play
Get
soccer.
some fishing in.
Get lots of fishing in that we've been missing out on. And yeah, I'm ready.
I too am ready for summer. And it's funny you mentioned Michigan. Our dad is currently working his way up the west coast of the Lower Peninsula, working his way all the way up. And they stopped at Bear Lakes, some dunes,
the dunes. Yeah,
they're primitive camping, and they've got an inflatable
beautiful
canoe that they're doing some rivers
No
and
way.
birding, and they're going all the way up the coast and some cool stuff. They're going to see Torch Lake and all this other stuff.
The outside of the mitten. They're going up the outside
up Lake Michigan, man.
Yeah, so they're doing that and having a good old time. But I too am looking forward to summer. I know a lot of parents are like, especially parents who work from home, are like, your kids are home all day. And Sherry and I, mostly Sherry, has always been like, I really enjoy having the kids home at summer. And she looks forward to each day, and she drastically dials back her workload so that she can enjoy the days with them. And we like it too. We're looking forward to it. Opened the pool this past weekend, so got that ready, getting the water warmed up as fast as possible, getting all the chemicals in there. Stopped by to see my friend Sue from the chemical factory. If you guys remember that story from a bunch of, she wasn't there today.
You didn't get to befriend her?
I interacted with her coworker this time, and there was
about her
a little bit because so I say, hey, I'm here to pick up 4 more carboys, because now I know that that's a term, which is a container. I didn't know that. I'm here to pick up 4 more carboys. So if you drop off the previous containers, you get a discount on the next ones, right?
Right.
So she doesn't even greet me. She doesn't say anything. She hands me a card and says, call ahead next time so I know you're coming. Our computers are really slow, and I don't want you to have to stand here because it takes a while to ring you up. So just call ahead and let me know you're coming. They typically deal with like businesses and commercials, so they're not used to dealing with residents with a small above ground pool, right? So anyway, she was trying to be helpful, but it was like, hey, how you doing? I'm here. And she just hands me a card and call ahead. I was like, these 2 sweet ladies, they don't interact with like
they don't have time for people like me.
Yeah, they don't.
You ever just look at people like that in that situation and go, you're a strange kind of human? You know, it's like you're trying to be helpful with the worst attitude that you could possibly.
Well, I tried to sort through what she was saying, and at its core, she was trying to say, I don't want you to have to stand here longer and wait.
Right.
She was also kind of complaining that I didn't know the new rule.
Yeah.
And then she said, hey, Sue's not here. And if you do call ahead next time and Sue asks why you're calling ahead, just tell her that I said that that's my preferred way of working. So they don't even agree. They don't even agree on the best way to handle this.
You know what's funny? I was literally just getting ready to say, you should have said, actually, I was going to call ahead, but Sue told me specifically not to because she wasn't there, and let them debate it out the next day.
Yeah. Sue is so kind. She told me just come in whenever, sugar.
So here's what's extra funny.
Yeah.
So while she's ringing me up, apparently these computers were like the first computers ever, and it's taken a really long time to ring me up. I guess I should have called ahead. Anyway, so to just make conversation, I say, so what other chemicals do you all make? Like, do you pretty much just make like concentrated chlorine for pools? And she goes, well, we used to make a lot of stuff. We used to be a major contributor or subcontractor for like Rust-Oleum and another cleaning company. She goes, but they went all green and our products couldn't, she said, never turned out right. So we lost those contracts. So if you want green pool cleaning products, don't go to this place. I don't know what I half expect like there to just be like a green like fog around the building. She's like, well, it's pretty much just chlorine now. And I was like, oh, okay.
All right.
You know, I've played enough. This will be one of the nerdiest things I've ever said on here. I've played Pokemon games long enough and Pokemon Go also that sometimes when I see an area that's like its own stereotype, I just imagine like what pops into my head is what kind of Pokemon would live there, right? So when you said there's like a smog swirling around it, I just imagine this building with like coughing and wheezing Pokemon.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that's their habitat. Like if this was a habitat and insert wherever you are, what kind of Pokemon would live here? And that's what I imagined. It was just like a little, you know, there's like old pallets and pipes outside with long weeds that have grown up through them right outside the building that they've just never weed whack in that area or go mow. And there's like an Eakins that like gets like comes out of the tube and sticks his head up. And anyways, just a thing.
This feels like this feels like when our mom figured out that she could go buy the rectangular pizzas that are served at school directly from Gordon Food Service.
Right.
And just walk up to a giant factory with a lot of frozen food and just buy from like a person. But it was like, you can only pay cash. I've done the equivalent with my pool supplies. I figured out, I know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who said, just go to this place and pull up to the loading dock and they'll take real good care of you.
Yeah, and it's ask like for Rick and take cash.
Yeah.
Go to work, like car boy.
So anyway.
And they'll give you the good stuff.
I
want green, go somewhere else. If you want it to work.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I did forget my own visual reminder, which was going to lead me to a story. So if you're not on YouTube, what I'm pointing to is I just finally finished building 2 Lego Guardians of the Galaxy ship. They just released a third one, but this is the first one. The first one is the Milano. The second one, I think, is the Benatar. And the Benatar is much bigger and actually comes with a stand because it's huge. And in the process of doing so, I have a dedicated Lego building desk. I thought you both would appreciate this.
Very nice.
I have now ordered 6 parts drawer bin things with 24 drawers in each bin. So I have a total of a lot of drawers. Nice. And they're stacked in 3s on either side of my Lego building desk that I can now start slowly sorting pieces. And I was almost kind of rushing to finish the Guardianship, although it's really very cool.
It is very cool.
To give you a sense of scale, my finger is like the size of the windshield.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Is that a standard human finger?
Yeah, it is a standard human finger. Maybe a little short. I don't know. I don't want to talk about it. Anyways.
He's been around some weird chemicals. It's shrunk a little bit over time.
He ate the GFS pizza.
But anyways,
a lot of it.
Too much tea Troyo is not good for you. Anyways, lots of bins, and I knew it's going to be a whole sorting experience. I might have to do a mid-bit video or something of like the bins and slowly sorting and what the desk look like because it's going to be a whole thing for a while.
Yeah, slow down on the sorting. We're coming over on Friday. I really am interested in doing some myself. So nice, Baymax.
Oh, yeah.
Just a Lego, just a grown-up Lego kid. Anyways,
have you been inspired by Adam Savage recently? Who recently dropped a video about drawers?
No,
the Adam Savage, who famously, again, for nerds, are the only ones who are going to whatever. Adam Savage is known as an anti-drawer fella.
Mm-hmm.
He is the one who has coined the phrase that a drawer is where tools go to die. And he has since started to realize some merit for drawers, and recently in one of his shop videos bought a chest of drawers and started filling it with junk.
Yeah.
So
he changed he changed it to a well-organized chest is not where tools go to die.
Yes.
So he's like, as long as you properly label the drawer, tools don't go to die there. And he said it wasn't very expensive. I got it on Craigslist. It was a $700 medical chest of drawers.
Yeah. That, and how awesome would it be if you're trying to sell something on Craigslist and Adam Savage shows up to your garage? That'd be
Can
fun.
I just say, my college roommate is a Etsy maker, and he makes a very specific part of the Ghostbusters proton pack. Adam Savage bought it.
Oh.
Now I have Adam Savage's address. So I know where his shop is in San Francisco.
Oh, man. Dude.
Maybe we go for a walk out there on a nice day.
Yeah.
In that neighborhood. Bada bing, bada.
We bring the podcast on the road, and we just, I have a fourth mic right here, Mr. Savage.
The next vlog clip is me getting arrested by San Francisco PD.
I was going to say,
they're not arresting people over there anymore.
That's true.
Okay.
Can we steal a little bit of stand up and, excuse me, Mr. Savage, can I have your autograph? Sure. Got a pen. Yeah. In my van.
He said if I was ever in town to stop by.
Excuse me, Mr. Savage. Anyway, so I'm very excited. It will be, I will try not to start sorting too much so you can come and help me start sorting pieces. Very exciting though. And I figured if I had too many or needed to rearrange them, they just go out to the garage and then I can sort stuff that I won't ever look at again. It'll be fine.
I feel like this has been a long catch-up intro.
Sure has. We're kind of all over the place.
We're going to sort our pieces out. We're going to listen to some of our friends from Mod Pods Media. And when we get back, we'll get our stuff together.
Hey, this is Russ.
This is Kyle.
This is Michelle.
From the Infectious Groove Podcast. Join us every Monday for the most fun you can have with a music podcast. The Infectious Groove Podcast uses a positive and fun approach as we take time every week to share our jammy jams, then dig into a thought-provoking topic discussing all decades and genres of music. You can find the Infectious Groove Podcast on all major podcast platforms, or you can head to infectiousgroovepodcast.com to find us there and subscribe. We might have a controversial opinion here or there, but we always have fun with it.
Oh, I'm sure I'll say something dumb.
Subscribe to the Infectious Groove Podcast, part of the Odd Pods Media Network.
Okay, we're a little all over the map on the first half of the episode. I had two stories from my New York trip. So to make up for the vegan restaurant that I ate at, ABCV, which was surprisingly very good, and shame on me for prejudging it. To make up for that experience, the next night we went to a place called Bowery Meat Co.
Nice.
And had a very lovely dinner where I had a cut of steak I've never had before. And the guys over at Grab 'em and the Brisket might appreciate this. I don't know if this place invented or made famous this cut of meat, or if it's the only place that you can get it, but it's the ribeye cap. Have either of you ever heard of this cut of meat?
No.
So the gist is what here's what I understand it. It's the just like the top part of what sits on top of the ribs, and it's a thick, handsome beast, freakishly well marbled, rallying with age. So I think they even have to like bind it with string to cook it. The outside ends up very, very, very crispy, and then the inside's a little fattier than what you're used to. Very unique experience, very fun. But I just had to mention that we balanced out the vegan with a lot of meat the following night.
Very good.
Speaking of dangerous things and dangerous chemicals, on my way home from New York, on my way home from the airport, something crazy happened on the outer belt of 270. Now, Sherry says I generally follow the car in front of me too closely. She's a little critical. I'm not giving a full one Mississippi for every 10 miles an hour of speed that I'm going.
Okay.
But in this case, it served me well. So I'm following a car on 270. It's the afternoon, no rush hour, which means we're going 65, 70 miles an hour.
Right.
The car in front of me hits a, no exaggeration, basketball-sized chunk of concrete.
Oh, no.
The noise of that was so loud. I don't know if their tire popped immediately or just the impact of them smashing this basketball-sized chunk of concrete, but they immediately start getting over to the median so they can park and assess the damage.
Yeah.
While that's going on, the impact or the bouncing underneath the chassis of their car and smashing it against the surface of the road bounced that chunk up over my car.
No.
And I still duck at the wheel. I still like duck thinking that it just
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, your reflex is to still duck. It bounces over my car, lands behind my car, and then I just see the cars in my rear view mirror doing this to like dodge it. A quarter of a mile up the road, I see off to the right a giant pile of concrete and asphalt where they had like apparently like jackhammered a bunch of road surface up, and that piece somehow made it back onto the roadway, causing crazy damage. But I'm just like, that's one of those situations where you're just like, so I'm telling Sherry this story, and I'm like, thank goodness I wasn't following a full 6 seconds behind them. Can you imagine? But that was pretty crazy, and I felt like
if that would have been you driving, we'd be buying a new car. Right
felt like
now.
that was worth sharing.
How long did it take you to unpucker from that?
Well, then I'm like, I didn't even. I mean, I tapped the brakes. I didn't slam the brakes. I just tapped the brakes to like, again, just sort of like reflex. And I was like, should I gone back and like stop for the person in front of me? Should I like try to move that thing? It's like 270. There's like, do I call somebody and go, hey, there's a big chunk of, is that person's job to do? Like, what's the etiquette?
I mean, what else is that person going to do right now? I would say that's on them at that point. Like, the rest of us have somewhere to go. Your plans have changed.
It's now incumbent upon you to inform the powers that be that there's a massive chunk of concrete on 270.
Exactly.
This feels like pawning something off on a friend. Well, since you're going to be here anyways. I mean,
I just invited you over for coffee, but it turns out I'm moving today. So if you could just.
I mean, there's no reason for me to stay if you're going to be here anyways.
Hey, while you're back there. I love you. I love getting you guys' thoughts. And I do have a more serious parenting one for you. If we're going to move off of that one.
Mm-hmm.
But this story, I have to disguise the story a little bit and protect the innocent or guilty. So one of my children is involved in a thing, and one of the people of authority that oversees the thing. What's the opposite of showing favoritism? What's the word for that?
Not showing favoritism.
That would just be treating them normal. So it has to be the opposite, like almost to the point of a slight injustice was
There's
happening.
a word that people are screaming at their iPhones right now.
Okay. So a slight injustice, and I get it, relative to actual injustices, this pales in comparison. But it was beginning to appear as though this person, teacher, faculty, staff, administrator, was being less than fair to my child. And I don't say anything the first couple instances throughout this school year of this thing, but now it's a thing that's in my head, so I can't get it out of my head. But now I might be on the lookout to confirm or deny that this is going on, right? So this goes on a couple more times. Sherry observes it. Then it gets to the point where let's just say it's all coming to the end of the season where opportunities for things to happen are now happening for others in the class. And it's still that same opportunity is not being shown to my child. And now it's like, then it gets to the point where it's all coming to a head to the degree that an assistant teacher crying comes up to my child and says, I'm so sorry. What's happening is not right. So you start to go, okay, this is just beyond, oh, my kid's not getting to a turn or my kid's not get. The point is, and this maybe isn't the first time that this happened, but I was conflicted, and I've never really come to this crossroads moment as a parent where I want to teach my child two things at the same time that almost stand in direct opposition to one another.
Mm-hmm.
I want to teach her that when you're mistreated or an injustice happens to you, how to handle that with grace and maturity and turn the other cheek. But she's also looking to me to determine, is what's happening to me normal or am I crazy? What? And so I want to tell her what's happening isn't right, but we're just going to be filled with grace and not say anything. And what I want to do is strangle the teacher / person of authority / administrator and say, what you're doing is wrong and you know it. It was almost like my child had offended this teacher or something, and she had a grudge against her and was intentionally not giving her the same opportunities as the others. It was getting, I know I'm being really cagey because I don't want it to.
Yeah.
Because most of all at this school, my child's experience have been wonderful, and so many of the faculty and staff are wonderful. And even at the end of the year, there were some words exchanged and we sort of like put it behind us. But it was like the first moment in time where I was like, that conflict, because I was feeling defensive and protective. And I wanted to be angry on her behalf and say, what's happening is not right. But also, I wanted my own cooler head to prevail and go, this is what happens when an injustice is done to us. Oh, it was tough. It was really tough. Thoughts?
Yeah, I'm looking up a quote, but there's I get the balance you're trying to strike. It's like we all know and we all hear that life isn't fair. But there's also reasonably standing up for yourself, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's a good like pick your battles. And so maybe that you use different examples of what picking your battles look like, because that's going to come up in the workicklace all the time, right? That's
100%.
That's a very, and in relationships, friendships, spouse, like picking your battles is very much a thing. It's not always fair. I'm going to geek out again and use a really great quote from Star Trek: The Next Generation, Jean-Luc Picard, as played by Patrick Stewart. It's like a perfectly succinct quote. It's possible to commit no mistakes and still lose. That's not a weakness. That's life. And it's talking about losing, but it's the same kind of premise. Yeah. You can do nothing wrong and still not the projected outcome still not happen. That's not weakness. That doesn't make you any lesser than or weaker or whatever. And so it's just kind of life. And so I think the expectation that sometimes life is unfair, sometimes picking your battles feels like a moment of injustice, but there are other times where it's more worth standing up for yourself, because you can't fight for everything all the time either. Like you can't, so I think it's just this combination of like talking through the process of, okay, let's start with life isn't fair.
Right. Well, as a baseline.
Like, I think that it's important to differentiate one's character with some of the things that one has to do sometimes. Let me explain. I like to use the word posture a lot. How you carry yourself.
Yeah.
So So I would think that if people were taught that to carry themselves as someone who turns the other cheek, is humble and gracious most of the time, but again, it's not just about how often you do it. It's just that's what your posture is. That's what your
Right.
approach to life
Right.
is as it concerns you. Now, when there is an injustice that rises to the point that it requires you to push back, that pushing back is not your posture. But that pushing back then becomes all the more useful for you because it's different. It's outside of what you're known as. It's outside of the character. It's outside of sort of your witness to the other people around you.
Yeah.
And so people pay attention to it. Not only that, but it gives it more credence because they trust you and know you as this humble, level-headed, I'm not taking myself too seriously kind of thing. There must be something to this pushback.
Yeah. That's a really good, that both are really good points. And I felt in the moment, I literally felt, oh, this is a teaching moment for her. And then I went, oh, this is a teaching moment for me.
Yeah.
And I thought it was very telling that even the assistant teacher was in tears saying, this isn't right. It's like she's out to get you for something that you've done. It's just such weird behavior. And then she said, I even fought for you. Like I fought for this opportunity to be given to you as well. I don't know why it was quite literally given to everyone else except for you. But yeah, it was really good. I like that, the difference between posture and like a thoughtful response, and one does not cancel out the other.
Right.
Because in this moment you chose to be a little more assertive and stick up for yourself. That doesn't cancel out your general posture of how you carry yourself and how you're viewed.
Yeah.
And
but you still have to think about those moments. You still have to, as Dillon was saying, you still have to know how to pick and choose that, right? Because even like not being included in something, like it can cause one to be very emotional, and it can cause a parent probably to be more emotional than their kid is in that situation to watch it happen.
And the window for her to be or not be included was getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And her grandparents, my parents, came to the thing to see her potentially get included, and then she wasn't. And it was like, so it just felt extra. Your emotions were heightened because it was like the storybook moment in the movie, and then it doesn't happen, and you're like, but I'm super proud of how she handled it. I'm really shocked that I didn't say anything. Hindsight, I feel like there was probably an opportunity to, but I would rather err on the side of not embarrassing myself or my child. So, and this is bigger than my kid needs more playing time. It wasn't one of those type things. It was anyway. So,
and the reality is you can always sit and take as much time as you have and come up with really thoughtful, well-worded, HR, PR approved responses to things that aren't accusatory, but like there's not enough energy and time in the day to do that for every situation that comes up. So like, but you could, if you wanted, you could have done it in a way that wouldn't have made you look like an, jackwagon, but still would have brought the point up. But like, there's not enough. There's so many of those situations with everybody. And sometimes, depending on how big of a deal or not the thing might be to the person, it might be worth taking the L on it for the lesson. Like if it was like, oh yeah, it would have been nice to do that thing, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe to answer that question, like you have to sit back and ask, in the grand scheme of things, over the course of my life, outside of emotional distress, what will this actually mean? So like, is this something that's like going to ruin my life, and 5 years down the road, is my life going to be any different? And I answer those kinds of questions maybe to help decide whether or not action is
That's so good. I just gave somebody that advice on a different thing. If it doesn't matter in 5 years, chances are it doesn't matter right now. If it does, then maybe it's worth taking a second look.
And not mattering is kind of there's probably a better term for that, because I realize things matter, and I realize emotions matter too. But I think that using the functionality of the outcome of the moment as a tester is also wise.
Yeah, it was a new one. I've been a parent for 16 years now, and that was, I guess the same thing has probably happened in smaller situations if I go back and think about it, but this one felt extra. It felt like real, again, maybe because like the whole year was kind of leading up to this thing, and then for other teachers and her classmates and friends to be texting her going, so sorry what happened, like that's not right, don't know why that she did that, he did that, they did that. So anyway, all right, thanks for the advice, man.
Yeah, that's hard, that's tough. And like, I legit don't know what it is you're talking about, but I'm still like feeling for your kid, right?
Yeah,
like it's no fun.
All right, let's talk about something silly.
Farts are funny.
I was just thinking, if we had a show that had like inserted special effects, we would have gotten like a big stamp on all three of our screens. It's like armchair expert. Stamp of approval.
I want to live inside of Dillon's head someday.
Gosh,
I want to come up with all these fun thoughts.
It's like Lego Movie and Powerpuff Girls and like the G.I. Joe cartoons, kind of all smashed together, which CW is working. This is one of the few times I was very excited something got canceled. Did you know CW has been for years working on a live action Powerpuff Girls show? It for sure needed to never be made. Do you know that when you watch Powerpuff Girls, you know how like they don't have fingers, they just have little blobs on the end of their
I don't know wrist. Dillon, but that's okay.
You know that everybody else in the show has fingers. Do you know why that works? Because it's a cartoon. Okay, you can't live action blobs for hands. Okay, it doesn't work. It doesn't need to be made. And so sometimes things get canceled, and I'm like, yeah, that's good. It's a good thing.
That's a good.
So this is for Kendall's benefit. Kendall, this is what their blob hands look like.
Yeah, I see that.
And apparently these were the actresses that were going to portray each character.
Oh yeah, they look just like them.
Yeah, it didn't need made. It was just like it's not surprising at all that it sat and was probably stuck in development purgatory for years. It just didn't need made. If you want to redo it, do some kind of play on the animation style, update it a little bit, and then do that.
Exactly. Make something inspired by.
Right.
Like
how they'll do the you just shared, Kory, the new Ninja Turtles animation style. Like, do that. Just make a new, slightly newer version of it. And it's Powerpuff Girls is just meant to be a cartoon. It's fine. It doesn't need to be live action.
I loved that show, actually. I loved the animation style, and the jokes were on point.
Funny. It was very funny.
What else? Mackinakins with a C. They say Mackinac though, so that's weird.
Yeah.
Insane. Sometimes it ends with a W though. I guess there's it's named after like a boat. There's like 3 different spellings of that word. 2 of them are pronounced Mackinac. 1 of them is pronounced Mackinac. So
very interesting.
That's my basic understanding.
Today I learned.
Yeah, the bridge and the island, I believe, are 2 different spellings. But I don't know. I'm not even going to look it up. I'm just going to say that definitively, and no one's going to check me on it.
Nope.
Don't care.
And farts are funny. So good contribution there as well.
It's true.
Oh,
I watched 1 episode of Shrinking on Apple TV Plus with Jason Segel and Harrison Ford. And I didn't want to watch a second.
You know what? Yeah, you watched more than I did, and I stopped and haven't gone back.
And then I realized Harrison Ford, Han Solo, Indiana Jones isn't enough to get me through Jason Segal's acting. I'm sorry. I don't like to say not nice things generally, and then I realized pretty much a lot of what he's in is bad. And I was looking online and some people are like, yeah, the reason some of these shows were canceled is because he was in the cast.
Oh boy.
But he's been on some pretty big shows.
Yeah.
Like how I Met Your Mother, right? Was he in that? Was he the boyfriend?
Freaks and Geeks. I Love You Man, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, The Muppets.
He had a hate. He only got into the Muppets because that was like right in he had a 4, 5, 6 year period where he was kind of the leading man of like the rom-coms and whatever. And so I think that's the only reason he made it.
It was Freaks and Geeks. They said Freaks and Geeks was canceled because of Jason Segel. Speaking of pronunciations that are weird and Mackinac and Mackinac, it's spelled Segel.
Segel.
Is it Segel? Anyway, he's bad, man. He's really bad. And
well, speaking of Muppets, do you know who's a huge fan of the Muppets that I found out from interviews that I really do want to be in a Muppets movie? Brett Goldstein, writer, and Roy Kent on Ted Lasso is he's like a huge Muppets fan. And he talks about it frequently. And I really hope that they put him in a Muppets movie at this point. I don't care what it's about. It could be a short. They could do some kind of funny Muppet short with Brett Goldstein. I just
saw a really adorable clip of him with Oscar because they're both growling at each other.
Oh, that's wonderful. That is, I tell you, it's true what they say. He's here, he's there.
He's every freaking where.
Man. How many podcasts do you think have a segue of speaking of the Muppets? How often do you think that happens? We've had some really, really good segues in the last 3 or 4 years. Muppets is not top 10, but it's fun. It's up there.
Okay, so you guys talk what you're streaming.
Okay. So Ant-Man 3.
Yeah.
Here's my general answer to basically everything Marvel at this point. Here's my general response. I don't know why so many people complained about it online. I thought it was really good. And that's how I feel about virtually everything Marvel. Nothing is flawless. This isn't Schindler's List. It's not Saving Private Ryan. It's not 2001: A Space Odyssey. These are superhero movies. They would traditionally be popcorn movies that you wouldn't even really think about grading or rating at all. The fact that people are like up in arms over ratings over superhero films already is weird to me because we grew up in an era where all the superhero movies were bad except Christopher Reeves and Michael Keaton movies. So it's weird that people have like this super crazy high level of like judgment they're putting on these projects. We're 20 plus years into Marvel content. They're all pretty darn good at this point. Some are better, some are worse. I don't understand why people are complaining. You have like Michelle Pfeiffer in a Marvel movie, right? Isn't that her? And then the other main guy that I'm blanking on his name, with like in a comedy about an ant superhero, and Michael Douglas. Yeah. Michael Douglas and Michelle Pfeiffer agreed to be in a superhero movie about a hero that likes ants and has ant powers. That's a comedy that like he can shrink and go down to the quantum realm. I don't know why people are holding like,
Jonathan Majors, Bill Murray,
critical levels of discussion over these projects. Go have fun. Go watch a movie. It was perfectly fun. I watched it this past weekend in the middle of the day and I freaking cranked my home theater up and it was fun. It was a fun movie to watch. I'm excited to see Guardians. Its reviews are much better. Not that it really matters because it's just going to be another fun superhero movie. Maybe with some more sad parts in this one than the last one, but it's still going to be fun. So I don't know. I'm still enjoying it. I'm not mad about it. We're going to get some more fun content Secret Wars, Marvel Secret Wars is on Disney Plus. We've got Ahsoka is coming to Disney Plus soon. There's going to be more stuff I'm forgetting about. So lots more to watch. I did watch The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent on Stars. That's the movie with Nicolas Cage as himself. And Pedro Pascal plays I think Spanish cartel leader or whatever. Very good, very funny if you get a chance to watch it. I love that Nick Cage is literally just himself in a movie. And if you don't know the premise, Nick Cage is Nick Cage, which means he's quasi struggling as an actor later in his career. And so he gets an invite to a birthday party for like $1 million. He needs the money. He takes it. And amidst this birthday party event, some cartel bad guy shenanigans go down and Nick Cage is pulled into it. And so it's great. It's really good.
Tiffany Haddish.
Yeah, Tiffany Haddish is in it. Pedro Pascal is in it. It's really good. Honestly, it was like Ike Barinholtz, if you know, he was in Mindy. He does a lot of comedic stuff. It was really good. It was funny. It was weird and stupid and funny and kind of awesome all at the same time. So if you have to like Nick Cage, also the movie starts out with you watching Nick Cage in Con Air before the actual movie starts about Nick Cage. So it's like a movie about him is happening in a movie about him as you're watching. Anyways, it's really good. It's very obviously self-aware and funny. Also, non-film, lots of comedians are putting their specials just straight onto YouTube these days. It seems to be happening more and more. They control the process and don't have to wait for a studio to sign them, to do a deal, to do a thing, to do whatever. And I watched Say I Won't by Anjelah Johnson-Reyes on YouTube. And Anjelah Johnson has been around a long time. She's very funny, and this is a really good special of hers. And actually, she does some joking about being older and single in this, and they never had kids. And then as of now, that her and her husband just had a kid later in life. So that's kind of funny. But it's a good special. If you've ever watched her before, if you're just looking for something different, check out Say I Won't by Anjelah Johnson-Reyes on YouTube.
Her most famous character may be Bon Qui from Mad TV. Is that right? And then her clip of the Vietnamese nail salon lady went super viral a long time ago.
Yeah. She has a few recurring characters in her stand-up, even that being one of them.
Yeah, and even in this, like, she doesn't necessarily do those bits, but you hear those voices in other like voices that she does, but you don't mind it. It doesn't feel like, oh, you're just doing the shtick again. Like some people, you get that sense. With her, it's just funny because you watch it and I feel like she's having so much fun. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's not like she's doing the shtick to do the shtick to get a laugh. She's having so much fun doing it. You enjoy watching it, and it was good. It was a good special.
And she's usually very, very clean.
Yeah, that's one of her things, and I really don't think, because her husband is a Christian, was like a musician and is like a music producer and all kinds of stuff. They moved to Nashville. That's some of the bits of them moving from California to Nashville, and so yes, generally clean. Pretty much anybody can watch it. So,
Kendall, what you watching, dude?
Dude, I've been watching Mad Men recently. I had never seen it before. And I mean I feel a couple of things. One, I'm having the opposite experience with what's his name? John Hamm?
Yeah.
Than what most people had. And that the John Hamm that I have in my head is the crazy, wacky, often obnoxious comedian. And then now I'm watching Donald Draper versus everyone else who were introduced to John Hamm via Donald Draper. And then they see him like hosting the ESPYs and they're like, who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
So that's a fun experience watching Donald Draper thinking, holy cow, I know what this guy turns into. So that's fun. The series, I'm still in the first season. It has me watching it still, and one of the things that kind of gets on my nerves a lot in watching some TV series is sexual promiscuity. And usually that means cheating on your wife and ruining her life because of it. And that really bugs me when it's something that's like just sort of put into the backdrop of the plot. But they never really deal with it. And like I felt that way for a while watching The Sopranos, and then eventually The Sopranos started to deal with it. And while Tony Soprano was always a dirtbag, he had like 2 or 3 moments where he legitimately tried to turn it around and knew what he was doing to his wife. That hasn't, I suspect it's going to happen. That hasn't happened yet so far. And I'm deep into the first season of Mad Men. And I'm just like, I'm waiting for it to turn, because I know that Donald Draper, just like Tony Soprano, is supposed to be this anti-hero character that is kind of icky, but you're kind of rooting for him anyway. And like, I'm not rooting for Donald Draper. I want the son of a bitch to get caught and his ass handed to him. Like,
yeah,
that's what I want for Donald Draper. I'm not rooting for him anymore because this thing over here is so evil.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And maybe that's a me problem for watching this. Maybe it's just not meant for me. But I'm going to keep watching it because what I'm rooting for is for that moment to occur so that he can turn things around.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it goes that direction at some point, or at least shows me that he has some remorse and tries to fix it even if he fails.
Yeah, I feel the same way about Oscar the Grouch. I don't
Maybe
care.
I just need to. I need to just. And hearing you talk about superhero movies, I just need to get back into. I haven't watched any Marvel content in a long time.
You've watched you've watched too much funny John Hamm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to watch some mindless Marvel is what I need to do.
Go watch Top Gun Maverick again, because John Hamm is a bad guy, but not a bad guy in that.
Okay.
So go watch Maverick. John Hamm always gets those, like, he always gets such a good mix of serious and comedic roles because it's so easy for him to look mad. Just it's how his face is. He's just lucky that way. He doesn't have like resting jerk face, but he can look angry easily. Yeah, Maverick's a good one. It's a good movie anyways, and then John Hamm is in it and he plays kind of a jerk.
Sure, that'd be good.
And not at all excusing it, but I wonder, Kendall, well, start from here. I think that show did a crazy good job of that Madison Avenue ad agency, drinking at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, womanizing in general, painting that 60s era with that brush. It felt very immersive when you were watching it. I think they do such a good job with the sets and the costuming and stuff that you kind of go like, man, people were like adulterous lushes back then.
Sure.
They are
today too. It just has become more socially acceptable today.
Right.
Like, and yes, it's shifted to where it's not as much a womanizing culture today as it was then, or at least it's not as out in the open today.
Yeah,
as it was then. But I mean, I wouldn't say that there's less sleazeballs today.
Oh no, for sure. I just think it I don't know, something about how it was so enmeshed in corporate America.
That's a good point.
And encouraged.
It was fine for The Office.
Under the radar, and the toxic masculinity and like the boys clubness of all of that, and women may at best will be an executive assistant and nothing else ever. It was just it's interesting, like gender norms and stuff. Anyway, it's a crazy good show. Makes me want to go back and watch it. Yeah, but you want him to get his comeuppance.
I do. I really do. I'm not rooting for the guy. That is for sure.
But it makes you want to drink old fashions.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, is that what started the old fashioned craze?
They credit that show as a cultural trend that increased the return to some of those old cocktails.
Yeah, because all the hipsters are drinking old fashioned these days.
Smoked old fashioned. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I want to get back into Marvel. I feel like it's been a very long time since I've consumed anything Marvel. I feel very similar to you, Dillon. Like a Marvel movie can be very entertaining for me for all sorts of reasons, and I don't really care if there's plot holes or whatever else people can find. I honestly don't care too much about the quality of the acting. Yeah. Apparently, as long as Jason Segel doesn't pickle Weasel his way into a spandex suit.
Dude, I will say, there you go. That's the title.
I will say, from what I'm reading, if we kind of liked how the MCU shows felt different between WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier and Loki and Hawkeye, we were very much changing, and then into Moon Knight. We were really changing kind of the theme and the feel of every show.
You're pivoting every time. It's not like watching the Avengers films in sequential order.
Yeah,
you're doing a lot of mental pivoting from film to film.
I think if you watched Quantumania and then in June you start watching Secret Wars, did I say that? This was Secret. I forget. You watch whatever the next Marvel show is in June. That's like supposed to be a little dark thriller. That's going to feel way different than Quantumania. Okay. And then Loki was the one that gets a season 2 later this year. So Loki season 2 is coming. So they're all going to still feel, and Guardians will feel very different than a lot of those. So they're going to still feel pretty different as you keep watching new projects. So like, you're not going to get the same, you're not going to get the same origin story 4 times in a row if you watch 4 different movies again. So it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see how different all of the stuff this year feels.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, guys. This one felt hodgepodgey, but it was good to catch up with you. And we talked about stuff and shared stuff. And that's cool. So.
And go buy stuff from rdsman.com. Promo code the middle to save 25% off your first order. I'm wearing the hat. It's a very cool hat. Buy a hat too from when you're there, but also buy the beard stuff and the shower stuff and the lotion stuff. rdsman.com, promo code the middle.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.